Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating world of Washington quarter dollars, and you might want to check your collection, your old coin box, or even the loose change sitting in your home before this video ends. Why? Because some Washington quarters can become surprisingly valuable when they have the right date, mint mark, condition, or unusual minting error. But here is the most important thing. Not every old Washington quarter is automatically rare, and not every coin with a strange appearance is worth a fortune. The real mystery is knowing exactly what to look for, so don't skip ahead, because one small detail on a quarter can completely change the story behind the coin. And if you have Washington quarters at home, you may already be holding a coin that deserves a much closer look. Let's begin. First coin. The first thing that surprises many new collectors is that a 1967 Washington quarter normally does not have a mint mark. So if you look at the coin and don't see a small letter such as D, S, or P, that does not automatically mean your quarter is rare or missing something. The absence of a mint mark on a 1967 quarter is normal. This is an important detail, because many people see a blank area where they expect a mint mark, and immediately think they have discovered an extremely rare error. In reality, the story of the 1967 quarter is much more interesting. The 1967 Washington quarter was produced during an unusual period in American coinage history. The United States was experiencing a major shortage of circulating coins, and the rising price of silver had created serious pressure on the traditional silver coinage system. As a result, the US Mint changed the composition of the quarter. Instead of the traditional 90% silver composition used on earlier Washington quarters, the 1967 quarter was struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition. This makes 1967 an important transitional period for collectors studying Washington quarter history. Now let's look at the coin itself. On the obverse, you will see the famous portrait of George Washington facing left. Around the portrait are the words Liberty and In God We Trust, while the date 1967 appears below. Turn the coin over and you will see the classic eagle design surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America, EPLURBUSUNUM, and quarter dollar. But here's where things become really important. If your 1967 quarter has no mint mark, don't automatically assume that the lack of a mint mark is the reason it is valuable. For this particular year, the absence of a mint mark is expected. What you really want to examine is the coin's condition, and whether it has a genuine minting error or an unusual variety. Condition can make a major difference in collector interest. A heavily circulated 1967 quarter may have scratches, dirt, contact marks, worn lettering, and a dull surface. Millions of coins have experienced this type of wear simply because they were used in everyday commerce. On the other hand, a sharply struck example with attractive original surfaces and very little wear can be much more interesting to collectors. And there is another important warning: never clean your coin just because it looks dirty or dark. This is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. They may use chemicals, polishing products, or household cleaners hopping to make the quarter shine. Unfortunately, cleaning can leave scratches, unnatural surfaces, or other signs of alteration that can reduce collector appeal. If your 1967 Washington quarter has an unusual color or natural tunning, leave it alone and have it evaluated properly if you believe it could be valuable. Now let's talk about errors. This is where your 1967 quarter could become much more interesting. A genuine minting error happens during the manufacturing process, and major errors can sometimes attract strong collector attention. Examples of error categories can include unusual strikes, clipped planchets, doubled features, off-center strikes, die-related problems, and other manufacturing abnormalities. However, you need to be extremely careful here. Not every strange-looking coin is a mint error. Damage that happens after a coin leaves the mint can create unusual shapes, colors, scratches, dents, or flattened areas. A coin that has been hit by machinery, squeezed, scratched, or exposed to chemicals is not automatically a valuable mint error. This is why authentication matters. Another major factor is the difference between an ordinary coin and a truly exceptional example. If you find a 1967 quarter with a dramatic and clearly identifiable mint error, excellent preservation, or another legitimate collectible characteristic, it may deserve much closer attention. But if you simply have a normal circulated 1967 quarter without a mint mark, its value should not be exaggerated just because someone online claims that every 1967 quarter is worth thousands or millions of dollars. This is especially important when watching viral coin videos. You may see headlines claiming that a common quarter is worth $10,000, $50,000, or even millions of dollars. Those headlines are designed to create excitement. Real-world coin values depend on the specific specimen, its grade, authenticity, error status, rarity, and what collectors are actually willing to pay. So how should you check your own 1967 Washington quarter? Start with the date. Make sure it really says 1967. Then examine the entire coin under good lighting. Look closely at Washington's portrait, the lettering, the date, the eagle, and the rim. Check for unusual doubling or striking characteristics, but don't assume every blurry or damaged letter is an error. Next, examine the condition. Is there significant wear on Washington's hair and cheek? Are the eagle's details still sharp? Does the coin have heavy scratches or contact marks? Does it appear unusually well preserved? These details can help determine whether your coin deserves further examination. Also pay attention to the coin's surfaces. Natural tunning can occur over many years, and unusual coloration can sometimes make a coin visually interesting. But color alone does not prove rarity. Artificially colored coins should not automatically be considered valuable. And remember the most important lesson of today's video. The missing mint mark on a 1967 Washington quarter is not by itself a rare error. For 1967, no mint mark is normal. The real question is whether your individual coin has something else that makes it special. So if you have a 1967 Washington quarter sitting in an old collection, don't throw it away. It represents an important chapter in American coinage history, especially because it comes from the period when the United States transitioned away from traditional silver quarter production. Before we finish, take one more close look at your coin. Check the date, check the surfaces, check the details. Look for genuine minting characteristics. And most importantly, don't clean it. A normal 1967 quarter may simply be a fascinating historical coin worth around its face value in ordinary circulated condition, while an exceptional example or a legitimate major error can be a completely different story. The key is knowing the difference. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1967 Washington quarter, make sure you subscribe to change your life for more coin discoveries, rare coin history, valuable varieties, mint errors, and collector tips. And remember, sometimes the most ordinary-looking coin deserves a second look. You could be holding a piece of American history right in the palm of your hand. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next coin hunt. Next up, the first thing you need to know is that a 1981 Washington quarter without a mint mark is not automatically a rare coin. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint produced 1981 Washington quarters without a mint mark, so seeing no letter beneath the neck of George Washington is normal for a Philadelphia issue. This is extremely important because many people believe that every coin without a mint mark is a mint error. That is not true. The missing mint mark must be understood in the context of the year and the coin's production history. Now let's take a closer look at this famous American quarter. The obverse features the portrait of George Washington, with the word Liberty above him, In God We Trust beside the portrait, and the date 1981 below. On the reverse, you can see the American eagle with its wings spread, surrounded by United States of America, EPLURBUSUNUM, and quarter dollar. The 1981 quarter belongs to the modern era of Washington quarter production, and unlike the older silver quarters from before 1965, it is a copper-nickel-clad coin. This means that the coin has a copper core surrounded by layers of copper-nickel alloy. If you look closely at the edge of the coin, you may notice a darker copper-colored line between the outer layers. That edge can help distinguish a modern-clad quarter from an older silver issue, but here's where our treasure hunt really begins. If you have a 1981 Washington quarter without a mint mark, don't immediately think you've discovered $1 million coin. Instead, examine the coin for characteristics that could genuinely make it unusual. The first thing to check is the condition. Has the coin been heavily circulated? Does Washington's portrait show obvious wear? Are there scratches, dents, stains, or contact marks across the surfaces? If so, the coin is generally going to have less collector appeal than a sharply preserved example. Now imagine you find a 1981 quarter that has very little wear, strong details, attractive original surfaces, and excellent overall preservation. That coin could be much more interesting to collectors. High-grade examples can command premiums compared with ordinary circulated coins, especially when they have been professionally authenticated and graded. But condition isn't the only thing to investigate. You should also look carefully for genuine mint errors. A true mint error happens during the manufacturing process. Depending on the type of error, you might see an off-center strike, a clipped planchet, unusual doubling, a striking problem, or another abnormal characteristic. Some dramatic errors can attract serious collector attention. However, this is where you need to be careful. A damaged coin is not necessarily an error coin. If your quarter has been scratched by another object, crushed by machinery, exposed to chemicals, or altered after leaving the mint, that damage does not automatically make it rare. This is why experienced collectors don't simply look at a strange coin and immediately declare it valuable. They investigate. They compare the characteristics with known minting processes, examine the entire coin, and when necessary, seek professional authentication. Another important point is the date itself. The year 1981 does not automatically make a Washington quarter rare. The absence of a mint mark does not automatically make it rare either. Value comes from the combination of factors, including scarcity, condition, variety, genuine errors, and collector demand. So if you're searching through a jar of old quarters right now, here's what you should do. First, separate your 1981 quarters. Then look at each coin under good lighting. Confirm the date. Check the area beneath Washington's neck where the mint mark would normally appear on coins struck at facilities that used one. If there is no mint mark, remember that this can be normal for a Philadelphia issue. Next, inspect the date and lettering. Look for unusual doubling or distorted features, but don't confuse ordinary wear or damage with a mint-made variety. Then examine the rim. A major off-center strike can sometimes be obvious because part of the design is missing or shifted toward the edge. After that, inspect the reverse. Look carefully at the eagle, lettering, and rim. A genuine striking anomaly may be visible across multiple parts of the design, whereas random damage may appear only on one isolated area. And here's one of the biggest mistakes you should avoid: cleaning the coin. If your 1981 quarter is dirty, dark, dull, or has unusual tunning, don't polish it. Don't use toothpaste. Don't use chemicals. Don't scratch the surface to make it shiny. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and potentially reduce collector appeal. If you think you found something special, preserve the coin exactly as you found it. Now let's address the viral claims you may see online. You might encounter videos saying that a 1981 Washington quarter without a mint mark is worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of dollars. Be careful with those claims. A headline is not proof of value. Actual market value depends on the specific coin and its documented characteristics. A normal circulated 1981 Philadelphia Washington quarter without a mint mark should not be treated as a guaranteed fortune. But that doesn't mean you should ignore it. Every coin deserves to be examined in context, especially if it has unusual characteristics or exceptional preservation. Think about it this way: the real treasure isn't simply the absence of a mint mark. The real treasure hunt is discovering whether the coin has something else that makes it unusual. Maybe the coin has an interesting minting error. Maybe it is unusually well preserved. Maybe there is a recognized variety. Or maybe it is simply a normal 1981 quarter that gives you a fascinating piece of American coinage history. And that is exactly why coin collecting is so exciting. Two coins with the same date can look similar at first glance, yet their condition, surfaces, production characteristics, and collector demand can make them very different. So before you spend that 1981 Washington quarter, take a second look. Check the date, check the mint mark area, examine the edge, study the details, look for genuine errors, and never clean the coin just because you think it looks old. If you believe your quarter has an unusual minting characteristic, take clear photographs of both sides and consider getting an opinion from a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service before assuming a huge value. The biggest lesson today is simple. 1981 without a mint mark does not automatically mean rare. The absence of a mint mark can be completely normal for a Philadelphia minted 1981 quarter. What can make an individual coin more interesting is its condition, authenticity, recognized variety, genuine mint error, and actual collector demand. So go back to your coin collection and look again. Ordinary quarter in your drawer may not be a jackpot, but it could still have a story worth discovering. If you enjoyed this Washington quarter treasure hunt, make sure you subscribe to change your life for more rare coin discoveries, valuable varieties, mint errors, coin history, and collector tips. And remember, don't judge a coin by its age or appearance alone. Sometimes the smallest detail tells the biggest story. Thanks for watching, keep checking your change, and I'll see you in the next coin hunt. Next up, the first thing you need to understand is the D mint mark. On a 1991 D Washington quarter, the small letter D indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. You can find the mint mark on the obverse, near the bottom of Washington's portrait, above the date area. This tiny letter may be easy to miss, especially on a heavily circulated coin, but it is an important part of identifying the coin. Now here's something very important for every collector. A D mint mark does not automatically mean a coin is rare or extremely valuable. Millions of Washington quarters were produced, and many 1991 D examples entered everyday circulation. So if you find one in your pocket change, don't immediately believe that you have discovered a fortune. Instead, you need to examine the entire coin carefully. The 1991 Washington quarter belongs to the modern clad era. Unlike the classic Washington quarters produced before 1965, which contained 90% silver, the regular 1991 quarter was made with a copper-nickel clad composition. If you look closely at the edge, you may see the copper-colored core between the outer layers. This is one of the easiest visual clues that you're dealing with a modern clad quarter rather than an older silver issue. Now let's talk about the design. On the front of the coin is the famous portrait of George Washington. Around him are the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, with the date 1991 below. On the reverse, you'll see the American eagle with its wings spread wide, surrounded by the words United States of America. EPLURBUSUNUM, and quarter dollar. But the real question is this: what should you look for if you have a 1991 D quarter asterisk asterisk? The first thing is condition. Imagine you find two 1991 D quarters. The first one has been circulating for decades. It has scratches, contact marks, dull surfaces, and noticeable wear across Washington's portrait and the eagle. The second coin has sharp details, attractive original surfaces, very little wear, and an overall high-quality appearance. Even though both coins have the same date and mint mark, collectors may view them very differently. This is why condition matters so much in coin collecting. A common coin in ordinary circulated condition may have little premium, while a particularly well-preserved example can attract more attention. Professional grading can also help establish the condition of a coin, especially when a coin appears to be exceptionally preserved. But condition isn't the only thing that can make a 1991 D quarter interesting. You should also look for genuine mint errors. Mint errors happen during the manufacturing process. Depending on the error, a coin could be struck off-center, have a clipped planchet, show unusual doubling, or display another legitimate production abnormality. Major clearly identifiable errors can be much more desirable to collectors than ordinary examples. However, you need to be careful because damage is not the same thing as a mint error. A quarter that has been scratched, flattened, bent, stained, exposed to chemicals, or damaged by machinery after leaving the mint isn't automatically rare. Sometimes a damaged coin can look extremely strange, and that unusual appearance can make people believe they've discovered a major error. Experienced collectors look at the evidence and determine whether the characteristic could realistically have happened during the minting process. So if you think your 1991 D Washington quarter has an error, don't clean it, don't scratch it, and don't try to improve the appearance yourself. Keep the coin exactly as you found it and have the unusual feature examined by someone knowledgeable. Another important factor is the surface condition. You might find a 1991 D quarter with dark areas, reddish tones, golden coloration, or other unusual-looking surfaces. But color alone does not prove rarity. Coins can change appearance because of age, storage, environmental exposure, or chemical reactions. Artificially altered coins can also develop unusual colors. Therefore, never assume that a strange color automatically means a huge value. The same rule applies to scratches and marks. A coin with a large scratch may look unusual, but damage generally does not increase its value. What collectors want to know is whether the characteristic was created at the mint or happened later. Now here's a great way to search through your collection. Take all your 1991 D Washington quarters and place them under good lighting. Start with the date. Make sure you're looking at a genuine 1991 coin. Then confirm the D mint mark. Next, examine Washington's portrait, especially the hair, cheek, and surrounding lettering. Look for unusual doubling or striking characteristics, but remember that machine wear, dye deterioration, and ordinary damage can create confusing appearances. Then turn the coin over, study the eagle carefully. Look at the wings, lettering, rim, and overall strike. Check whether the design is centered correctly. If the coin appears dramatically shifted, that's when you may have a reason to investigate further. Also check the edge. A major problem with the planchet or striking process may sometimes be visible around the edge. But again, don't confuse ordinary damage with a genuine mint error. And now comes one of the most important warnings in today's video. Never clean your coin. Asterisk asterisk if your 1991 D Washington quarter looks dirty, dark, brown, grey, or dull, leave it alone. Don't use metal polish. Don't use toothpaste. Don't use vinegar or other household chemicals. Don't scratch the surface. Cleaning can leave permanent marks and may reduce the coin's collector appeal. Instead, preserve the coin as you found it. Now let's talk about those unbelievable values you sometimes see in viral coin videos. You may hear claims that a 1991 D Washington quarter is worth thousands or even millions of dollars. Don't believe a price claim simply because it appears in a thumbnail or video title. The value of a specific coin depends on its actual characteristics, condition, rarity, authenticity, and what buyers are willing to pay. A normal circulated 1991 D quarter should not automatically be considered a jackpot. The D mint mark alone is not enough. Here's what makes the hunt exciting. You never know what you'll find until you look. Asterisk asterisk a 1991 D quarter with an important genuine mint error, an unusual recognized variety, or exceptional condition could be worth investigating. The key is evidence, not excitement. So if you have a 1991 D Washington quarter sitting in an old collection, don't throw it away and don't spend it before taking a closer look. Examine both sides. Check the mint mark. Study the surfaces. Look for genuine mint-made characteristics. Compare the coin carefully with reliable references or seek professional evaluation if something appears unusual. And remember, coin collecting isn't just about finding a coin worth a huge amount of money. It's also about discovering history. That small quarter traveled through American commerce. It may have passed through countless hands, stores, vending machines, banks, and cash registers. Today, it could be sitting quietly in your collection, waiting for someone to notice the details. So the next time you see a 1991 D Washington quarter, don't simply think, it's only 25 cents. Pick it up, look closely, check the date, find the D mint mark, examine the condition, look for genuine errors, and most importantly, don't clean it, because sometimes the difference between an ordinary coin and an interesting collectible isn't something you can see from across the room. It's a tiny detail hiding right there on the surface. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1991 D Washington quarter, make sure you subscribe to change your life for more coin discoveries, rare varieties, mint errors, valuable dates, and fascinating American coin history. And remember, check your change before you spend it, because you never know what story your next quarter might be hiding. ***, thanks for watching, keep searching, and I'll see you in the next coin hunt.